Hello, beautiful human. Welcome to another episode of the Returning Home podcast, hosted by yours truly, Lin Lim. In today's episode, I'm going to be diving deep into a topic that I've never ever talked about before, and I really feel that this is so important, especially when you're starting out on your spiritual journey, or maybe you're more advanced and you're already in it for the long term, and you feel that you want to maintain this standard of positivity, of feeling good and feeling empowered. And sometimes when you feel not so good or not so empowered, you might think that suddenly raising your vibration is the best technique to actually get into that mode again. And in today's episode, I'm going to dive deep into how we can actually do this without harming ourselves or other people or our reality. I'll share exactly with you how you can effectively get into a balanced state of being, how we can be real with ourselves and with our world, and how to avoid these harmful situations, and maybe we're not even aware of it. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. So before I dive into today's episode, I want to say, if you've been doing some of these things, there's no shame in that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. It's just a journey of learning. I myself have gone through this as well, and that's why I know about this. So there's absolutely no shame in doing these things. And what we're going to be talking about today is actually spiritual bypassing and toxic positivity. And I see a lot of people doing this, and it's actually really harmful, not only for us, but sometimes when people start projecting it on others, it gets harmful for other people as well. And I'm going to talk about what this is and why it is important to know this, and actually how to change it. So what is it? What is spiritual bypassing? Spiritual bypassing is actually avoiding. It's avoiding of what is. It's basically escapism from reality. We try to escape into this spiritual world so that we don't have to deal with the density, the dense reality of what it is like to be here in this 3D reality, this dense reality. And I fully understand, because sometimes things are really intense here. Things can be very intense, and there's a lot of contrast and duality. And here on planet Earth, we have the biggest range of emotions. We can feel the ultimate lowest kind of emotions and the ultimate highs, and sometimes navigating between those two is pretty challenging. It's really challenging. So I get why this happens. Another thing of how spiritual bypassing expresses itself is through, for example, expecting that meditation or spiritual practices always have to be positive. It's avoiding uncomfortable feelings or mistaking indifference for equanimity. It could also be extended towards other people, like I just said, and not allowing others to share their negative feelings. It's toxic positivity and spiritual bypassing. It's like when people are saying, I only want good vibes around, only good vibes. And for me, when someone says that, that's a huge red flag. Why? And now we're getting into why this is important. It's because when you start behaving positive when things are not, you're actually avoiding and repressing your negative emotions. And I want to share with you a story about myself. When I started out practicing the law of attraction, I was actually just introduced to concepts like manifestation and the law of attraction and mindfulness and presence. And I started out on this journey, and I was on this marathon of manifestation, and I was doing all the techniques. I was writing down affirmations in the morning, I was practicing gratitude, I was visualizing in the mornings, in the evenings, and it felt really, really, really good. And meanwhile, of course, because life always offers contrast, there were some challenges where I had to deal with some really unresolved emotions, some really deep unresolved emotions that I had that were there since childhood, that actually came to the surface at that period of time, which is happening in most spiritual awakenings, right? We start to deal with all of the things that we have gone through that triggers us in a certain way, and we have to deal with those emotions. And because I didn't know yet about shadow work, I didn't know about healing and really digging into the root cause of these emotions, I started to do things that I knew would make me feel good. And what I'm saying here is that whenever you feel such trigger, or you feel a really, really intense emotion, you start to grab methods and techniques in order to feel better. And this is basically, it's okay to do that, but if we're doing that as a means to avoid the things that we are actually feeling, then it can be really harmful. And this is why, because whenever we avoid or escape from reality as it is, we don't want to deal with the harshness or the denseness of this reality, or our negative emotions or triggers or traumas, the shadows that are hiding in the shadow. When we don't want to deal with those, and we actually immediately grab things that will make us feel better, it's alright to do that. But when we really avoid them and never get back to them, what happens is, because these emotions are coming up to be healed, to be heard, to be seen, to be felt, it's gonna come back 10 times harder the next time. And sometimes people still don't want to deal with it. They still don't want to look at it. And it's gonna come to a point where you're like, okay, it's gonna be so in your face. Life is going to throw it so strongly in your face that there's no way around it anymore. And when that happens, that's absolutely okay. It's just a matter of, do you want to listen to yourself? Do you want to really be honest and real with yourself the first time these things happen? Because when you do, it actually makes your life a lot easier, and you actually make sure that these kind of huge, big events don't have to happen. So how can we change this then? How can we, if we don't want to feel the discomfort all the time and we want to feel good? Well, the easiest way of how to do this is actually head on deal with your emotions. Deal and accept. And I think this word accept is really, really big. Accept what is, and don't resist it. Because when you want to grab these methods to raise your vibration and get into feeling good when you're not feeling good, it's actually also a way of resisting what is. If you just start meditating and you start with your head in the clouds, it's still resisting what is. When you come back to your reality, it's not as everything is changed now. So we need to make sure that we change this paradigm of escapism, of toxic positivity, of spiritual bypassing. And the way that we change it is to deal with it, is to simply deal with it. Whenever an emotion pops up and it is foreign, it's new, you don't know where it comes from, allow it to be there. just allow it to be there. Don't necessarily react to it. And this is where the practice of witnessing is very, very useful. It's where we start to witness what is happening within us without reacting to it. And what you can ask yourself is, what is this emotion trying to tell me? And when you start asking yourself that question, your higher self or your subconscious mind will start to give you the answers, because your subconscious mind has all the answers. And when you quiet the mind and you observe, you witness what is happening within you, the answers will come to you. Eventually, it will come to you, and you will feel and see why this happened to you and why this emotion is popping up. And ideally, you sit with your emotions, you witness these emotions until you feel that there's no emotional reaction anymore. Whenever something triggers you, you neutralize this trigger through sitting with it, playing it out in your mind, witnessing these emotions, and playing it over and over again until you feel no reaction at all, until you feel neutral. And neutrality is something that is so important. And some people, they always talk about raising your vibration, but actually I feel like if you can just be neutral in life, then that is already making sure that you're not having all these super highs and all these super lows. Actually, when you can maintain your balance, when you can neutralize whatever is happening in your reality, you're really spiritually progressing. When we're talking about balance, there's actually two things the universe is always seeking. The first thing is balance. The universe is always seeking balance. And the second thing is growth. And if you know that the universe is always seeking balance, and you can also see this translated into, for example, your finances. It's like when you earning amount of money, make sure that what you're receiving, you're also giving a part of. You're giving a part away to people who need it, or to causes that will help improve whatever, Mother Nature, people around you, if you have that space. Because what the universe always wants is balance. So sometimes when we're receiving a lot of blessings, we're receiving a lot of money, if you don't be generous and also give some of that to those who need it, then the universe is like, okay, we're gonna take a part away from you because there needs to be balance. This is a universal law. There needs to be balance. And so whenever there is balance within your life, whenever a blessing is coming through, the universe will always challenge you. Why? Because it wants you to grow. There wouldn't be any growth without being challenged. If you think about that contrast in life, that contrast is there for a reason. There's a reason why we feel these emotions. There's a reason why we feel triggered sometimes, or we can feel challenged. And if we can dig deeper into those challenges and not spiritual bypass or have this toxic positivity, we can actually make sure that we are doing what we're supposed to do, which is growing. It's there for a reason. It's there to make your life better. It's there for you to be stronger and to learn certain lessons that you're supposed to learn. And when you're not learning those lessons, like I said, they will be in your face, and there's no way around it, and it's going to be very, very, very uncomfortable. So it's better to face these challenges head on. And I think that this is how you make sure that yes, you are positive, but most importantly, you are balanced. You're a balanced human being. You are doing what you're supposed to do here, which is growing. It's learning your lessons, and you're doing it in easy way. You're allowing yourself to do that, and eventually, for example, when you're trying to manifest or you're in the law of attraction, you make sure that you're also releasing some of those lower vibrations or those subconscious blockages that are in the way for you for manifesting some of that, what it is that you want. Because sometimes when you're manifesting, when you get challenged, it's actually because the universe wants to help you to align vibrationally with the thing that it is that you want. So everything in your life is there for a reason. It's there for a higher purpose. And I think that was it for today, guys. I really hope that this resonated with you. I hope that this helped you. And if it did, and you haven't already, and you enjoy these kind of episodes, I would really appreciate it if you would take the time to give this podcast a 5-star review if you're listening on Spotify. If you're listening and watching on YouTube, let me know in the comments where you guys are tuning in from, because I'd love to get to know you. Make sure to like this video if you liked it, and share it with anyone who you think could benefit from this message right now. I'm making it my mission this year to bring this message of love, positivity, empowerment, and spiritual awakening expansion to as many people as possible. So if you feel like you want to share it with someone, that will be a huge help as well. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, remember to do so, as you will be the first to watch all of my videos every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, so that you can create your best life. Thank you so much for being here. Keep growing, keep shining your light, and keep being your beautiful self. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.